Episode 7 of Jujutsu Kaisen was trending #1 in Japan. That is freaking huge and insane, and I love to see it. It sounds really ridiculous. Trending #1 in Japan? I love to see it, I'm not gonna lie. It sounds a little goofy. #1 trending on Twitter. Jujutsu Kaisen might be best anime 2020. This is freaking crazy. This is nuts. The revival of Yuji, they didn't prolong it. They didn't make it a big spectacle as you thought maybe they could have. Like, they didn't try and do like a dramatic thing. They understand that audiences now that are watching Jujutsu Kaisen, they are like already seasoned to a lot of this shit about like, oh, he's not gonna be dead, you know, he's the main character. So they didn't even try to pull that shit, which again, that's respecting the audience. It sounds really ridiculous. That insane domain expansion battle, oh, it was great. But the funny thing is that in reality, Jogo never stood a chance against Gojo, and Gojo really wasn't worried. He kind of just plays with Jogo the entire time. Art and animation on 10. Gorgeous, incredible. Looking at it narrative wise, he stood no freaking chance. Gojo was just playing. And then the training that Gojo gives Yuji does make some sense, because he sits him down with this little, again, like another stuffed animal that like clobbering the shit out of him, and basically in order to control his motions, he has him watch like all sorts of crazy films that basically are going to, you know, make you feel a certain way. I'm not even gonna lie, what we've gotten so far already, it has blown minds. Jujutsu Kaisen is trying to do a lot of different things while still having somewhat of the feel of the shonen formula, but it's taking a different approach. It sounds a little goofy. Jujutsu Kaisen greatness! This is going to be a very highly regarded, highly revered, all of that jazz type of episode.
He puts his hand on his chin, which means he's lying.
If you disagree with me, I'm just gonna delete you from this earth. Man, I like this. I like this a lot.
This entire video in a nutshell.
A lot of my top series are shonen. I consider it my preferred genre when it comes to anime.
Not biased or anything.
Jujutsu Kaisen is really good, which I'm almost positive you've heard already by now without me even needing to tell you.
Using the general consensus about a show that just begun as evidence as to why you're right, that never failed.
It's a series that all of the shonen heads are going nuts for.
All junkies like drugs, no shit!
It actually surprises me. I cannot be certain what will happen and what the end result will be, and I think that's a really good sign of good story writing.
If it subverts your expectations, then it's a masterpiece. Said every train wreck that doesn't want to admit being a train wreck.
I've seen this series take turns that I was not expecting, which is a real breath of fresh air for me.
Like any other show that just begun, it is also a breath of fresh air. You said nothing new here, mate.
Every character I've been introduced to has some sort of charisma, style, uniqueness to them that makes them stand out the moment they appear on screen.
What everyone says about every show they ever liked.
The negative shit, all the shit that I don't like. I got nothing.
What, not Sakura being as useless as Sakura?
Oh yeah, and we simp for Nobara.
Oh.
If you disagree with me, I'm just gonna delete you from this earth.
It's incredibly sad. It's honestly sad. I can't help but feel very sad. He has a really cool ability. He's able to actually put a critical hit on an opponent. This is basically like a game. He literally turns his opponents into a game element. It's something of this element I've always loved about stories. It allows me to connect with the series more.
Exactly, real fighting is like video games.
There is something that is also done that I do like. Nanami explains his ability to Yuji and the opponents he was facing. Gojo did the exact same thing to the cursed spirit with, you know, the volcano head. The explaining of abilities, even though it's obviously something to just, you know, for games and merchandise and all that, and for the audience to understand, oh, you're just telling the opponent your abilities and weaknesses because, you know, just because. It doesn't make sense.
Of course!
They have to tell how their ability works for it to be able to come into effect.
What?
You must tell some of your effects of your ability for it to fully have the full capabilities of its normal power it would.
What?
If you don't say something, it might not be as strong as it normally could be.
Of course!
It's sad. Like, even though I was not emotionally attached to the mother, it's incredibly sad. Just seeing her death, it's honestly sad. I can't help but feel very sad.
And your life! Kubo had an interview with Akutami Gigi, the author of JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen. In this interview, What was trending was apparently Kubo's comments about the JJK women. Sorry to say this in front of the author, I cannot find any attractive women characters in JJK. Oh, and of course, they got out the pitchforks. People were ready to cancel Kubo. How dare this Japanese man not appreciate strong, independent women? They're even giving Kubo death threats, like Kubo should commit suicide. I will never watch Bleach in your life. People even going as far as to burn Bleach volumes.
Screw Kubo, what an absolute demon, a monster, a heathen, a freak, he should be canceled, commit suicide, Kubo, how dare you?
As per usual, niggas jumping the gun, doing stupid shit, and ultimately speaking, another reason why you shouldn't go too deep into Twitter.
It's so nice not having to choose between being nerdy and being fashion. There has never been a better shonen battle anime or manga than Jujutsu Kaisen. This is it, the pinnacle, peak shonen. You might be interested in today's sponsor, Atsuko.com/basement. Gege Akutami ranks up there with Oda, Togashi, Toriyama, Araki, Fujimoto, and Kenshin's Hatsune Miku as one of the greatest writer-artists, and I'm pretty sure once you visit their site, something there is going to have the same effect on you. A true master of his medium who understands the strengths and limitations of the shonen battle manga format as well as anyone out there, and uses that knowledge to tell his story with near unrivaled efficiency. Maybe this Vegeta Badman face mask. Look at it. It's glorious. Akutami has clearly studied the roadmaps of many all-time great shonen manga, careful to note every speed bump, plot hole, and block they hit in their journeys. And how about this Remti? Or this Father and the Homunculi long sleeve. The series fills them with mysteries and off-screen schemes, setting up present and future plot points, so that when it's time for the plot and fights to go, none of this feels like haphazard retconning, because the seeds for what happens in those gaps are always planted in the arcs preceding them. God damn, just look at that Mob Psycho jersey. Or the Bebop one, that cursed techniques become more effective after you reveal how they work. This is a clever meta-narrative way of justifying one of the strategically dumbest shonen battle tropes, but it's just as ingenious in a metaphysical sense. Literally everything in the Gundam and Eva collections. Jujutsu Kaisen deals with some real shit. Every character carries some kind of trauma with them, a lot of it rooted in real-world problems, like the sexist pressure Maki and Mai face to be perfect as both sorcerers and women. I'm just using this ad spot to write a personal shopping list. Can you blame me, though? These are complicated, touchy subjects that the series handles with nuance and tact, making its points accessible to a teen audience without being preachy or obvious about them. I'm confident these clothes will speak for themselves. Being able to pull off that balancing act is one of the biggest differences between really, really good shonen manga and truly great ones. It's so nice not having to choose between being nerdy and being fashion. This series has some of the best characterization in shonen period, and that is especially true of the girls and women in its cast. None of them are waifus. They're fighters who stand on even ground with their male allies in every respect. Just click the link in the doobly-doo or go to atsuko.com/basement before you start loading up your cart, and a portion of your purchase will go towards supporting this channel.
It subverts your expectations. We have finally made it into the next generation of shonen manga and anime. If this is the kind of thing that you like, subscribe. The ones that leave ripples throughout time and define the atmosphere of a generation. We are a Patreon-driven channel. We have finally crossed into a new era. Our Patreon community is amazing, the best on the internet. It is filled with so many people that I'm happy to call my friends. Jujutsu Kaisen looks like another throwaway shonen to be lost in the sea of millions, but given a chance, it firmly stands out loud and proud above the rest of its modern competitors. We do lots of events and try to be exceptionally active and engaged with our community there. Kaisen has blown past the pack in tone, action, animation, and most importantly, inspiration. So if you want to see the entire second half of the Bonsai Pop experience you've been missing, consider checking the Patreon out. Jujutsu Kaisen isn't just another series coasting on the tropes and comfortable expectancies of what we now define as shonen. It is a piece which actively absorbs those tropes, takes bits and pieces from what it needs, and distills it into a story all its own that holds an uncanny familiarity whilst being entirely new at the same time. It's one of those new anime Crunchyroll is trying to shove up my ass until I watch. I stopped literally everything to keep reading Jujutsu Kaisen. I was completely absorbed. I hopped on the Shonen Jump app to read it out of spite for our commercial overlords. And as someone who was never content with simply consuming entertainment, I feel a strong connection with Gege Akutami and his intentions. Do feel free to check out our displayed shop. You get that period piece and characterization of Yu Yu Hakusho with the subversion of expectation and masterful power dynamics of Hunter x Hunter. Just wanted to say special shout out to all of our patrons. It is a deconstruction of shonen. It is a critical analysis of the meaning of what shonen is. It subverts your expectations constantly while still carrying a modicum of the core essence of its base material. The manga starts off in an interesting way, assuming you're reading it on Jump at least. When this energy is concentrated over a long period of time, a curse manifests a physical form and generally wreaks havoc.
Love her! Yo fam, we live in a reality where we just saw Maki on some epicness in a manga and I'm subjected to this shit. Yo, what world are we living in right now, fam? Take me back to Jujutsu Kaisen, demonstrating just how much of a fanboy this guy really was. Talk about epicness, talk about badassery, talk about just overall how to do a fight. This is why I read manga, this is why I watch anime, this is why this is my primary source of entertainment. He was a fanboy. Absolute greatness. How are you making such a badass character? How did you make Maki my favorite female character of Jujutsu Kaisen? Hands down, bar none. He's kissing ass. YOLO. Jujutsu Kaisen greatness! That Maki supremacy. I love Maki. Oh my god. You want me to fanboy over you for the rest of this series? I love Maki supremacy. Again, showcasing his level of fanboyism. Oh my god, she's so epic. Oh my god. Like he's fanboying top tier, legendary female characters. Insert Maki, baby. He probably wet his pants like, "Ai, senpai." Praise Maki. Love her. Love her. Love her. You see a bad looking chick, and that's why you be fanboying over her. You be like, oh my god, I'm rocking with her because not only is she an awesome written character, but she's just absolutely badass. Let me just massacre all you guys real quick. Real quick. And she's so bad enough, she got it done.
Define a new generation of anime fans. Season 2 of JJK will define the new standard of anime. This season will be the standard that future anime will be compared to for the foreseeable future, just like everything was compared to Demon Slayer when it broke the internet and set all kinds of records with its first movie. When you look at where the Demon Slayer anime is at right now, and what will be adapted in JJK Season 2, it is very clear that JJK is going to come out on top and have a major impact on how people compare anime. It's for that exact same reason that JJK will also come to define a new generation of anime fans, just like Demon Slayer did. Season 2 of JJK will be the new standard of anime. Every possible indicator is out there. As good as the fights are in Demon Slayer, they don't come close to JJK. It's obvious that JJK is going to become the new standard. And it's for that same reason that JJK will come to define a new generation of anime fans. JJK is going to do for a new generation of kids getting into anime what Demon Slayer did when it became famous. That is why Season 2 of JJK is going to define a new generation of anime fans. Not only is it going to dominate the summer season, but because of the amazing source material and massive potential it has, it will inevitably lead to a defining moment in the anime community.
I really truly have faith in him as an author. Gege has absolutely destroyed and tarnished Megumi's character. Hey, it's his choice, it's his story. The best we can do is respect his vision as an author. He cuts out a lot of character moments, a lot of character interactions, but hey, it's Gege's story, and as long as he does it the way he wants, there's nothing more I could ask for. You have some people hating on him saying, he's a garbage author, he can't write, he's making so many mistakes. I'm like, if that's the case, JJK wouldn't have so many fans, it wouldn't have so many people interested, and it wouldn't wouldn't be selling this well. The fact that a lot of his potential has been wasted, that his character has been completely sidelined. As we're seeing, JJK is not only the biggest it's ever been, but it is currently the biggest manga, or at least one of the biggest manga in the world, unquestionably. Gege is trying to force upon, let's say, an evil Megami just for the sake of having an evil Megami. And especially in terms of sales, it is just unrivaled in popularity. He's just absolutely destroyed Megami's character just to up the stake to the Gojo vs Sukuna fight. Clearly, he is a fantastic author who is doing a lot of things right, using Megami's entire abilities and destroying his character just to make Sukuna strong enough to beat Gojo. I'm not saying he's a bad author. On the contrary, I think he's probably one of the greatest authors right now that's out there. There are a lot of things that we just never got to see and will never get to see because he just wanted to progress the plot. The reality is, he's a great author, not just a great one actually, a very great one of the best in his industry. A lot of people actually questioning Gege's writing and attacking it even, which is really crazy to see, to be honest. But I have faith, I really truly have faith in him as an author. I just know he has got something special planned for Megami, and I cannot wait to see what he does.
Throw the word faith.
Trust in Horikoshi.
But I have faith in Horikoshi.
I have a lot of faith in Horikoshi as a writer.
Just have faith in Yamato. That's what I'm gonna say.
Breaking the barriers, dog. That is one of the biggest freaking plot twists probably in the entirety of the series. And I think it also breaks the mold, to be honest with you. It breaks the mold. Like, imagine just Kurama forcing Naruto to rip himself out and shoving him into Sasuke. Pause. Like, imagine some shit like that. Like, that is breaking the barriers of like what can be done, because most people are like, that should not be done. Why would you do that? Why is it like, oh my god, I gotta drop Jujutsu Kaisen, it's over, this is terrible? Why? One of the things that is really, really exciting about Jujutsu Kaisen, right, and makes it so unpredictable, I don't want to say genius, but this breaks out of the barriers of so many different things. I don't understand how anybody could hate this. I don't understand how anybody could be disappointed with this, dislike this, unless it's like, oh, so you want the trope to remain the same trope. You want it to be the fox in his belly and he has to overcome it. You want it to be the hollow inside that he has to overcome. You don't want it to be something radically, a radical departure of unique creativity, because that's what this is. That's unique. That's different. That's not the same mold. Like Naruto and Bleach, they did what they did for the time period they did. You can never take away from them. This is something using that kind of trope, so to speak, and going in a different direction. I don't understand how anybody can hate on that or downplay it. That was freaking fire. Jujutsu Kaisen right now, like, hold on. Clap it up for Gege Akutami for breaking the barriers, dog.
Subverting expectations, not for the sake of the narrative, but to subvert expectations.
My profile is filled with these online terrorists. This season I am pissing off Bleach and JJK fans. My profile is now filled with their bullshit, and the funniest of them all is this right here. He got really butthurt by my truthful video. He jumped in to say how wrong I am. It's not about Gojo showing off. Didn't you watch the latest episode? That proves you didn't watch the show and you're a hater who spreads lies. Excuse me, I did watch the recent episode, and it was all about Gojo kicking the living hell out of the guy who thought he had defeated him. What is this lie you speak of? Didn't Gojo win as he always does? Who's wrong now, huh? He then uses the typical copium excuse of have faith it gets better, which doesn't make any sense. Since I am not reviewing the manga in the far future, I am reviewing the anime as it is so far. Why are you trying to prove me wrong by mentioning the manga in the far future when I am reviewing the anime as it is now? His answer is shut up and watch, which basically means consume product and be excited for more products. Then he nags about not liking the show, fleshing out other characters beyond the major ones. Oh really? Please tell me, which secondary characters got a lot of fleshing out that matters more than Gojo showing off, which is exactly what I wrote in my review. Finally, he says, I am being impatient. I watched 24 episodes and a movie and now 4 episodes of the second season, and I gave the show no time to do something other than Gojo showing off. Who is lying here? Who is saying things that don't match what is happening in the show? It's just scare tactics by delusional fanboys who don't want people to tell the truth. And he is one of many. My profile is filled with these online terrorists who want to scare me into deleting my review. And the funny thing is they didn't have to do any of that. All they had to do is flag the video so it will be removed. Which is what happened. My truthful review was deleted by the mods because it was telling people why the show was all about Gojo showing off since season 1. The excuse for that deletion comes down to you are allowed to hype a show for something that doesn't exist yet, but you are not allowed to talk about the problems of the show since the very beginning. What an amazing community that makes sense in everything it does. I am clearly an anime hater for absolutely no reason. After being part of this community for 2 decades and receiving such treatment every day of my life.
Jujutsu Kaisen is a perfect shonen. It's a story that does everything it needs to right. Jujutsu Kaisen is mid. Jujutsu Kaisen is the best currently running new gen shonen. It's overhyped, predictable, and unoriginal. It's inspired, innovative, and it borrows so many elements from other shonen series. It's able to twist these old concepts to make something new. The series' rehashing of old concepts would quickly become stale. Fights flow so seamlessly together that you're never left even a smidgen of a chance to get bored. It didn't really blow me away or anything. Jujutsu Kaisen is a lightning quick hype train that stops for absolutely nothing. A couple months later, I had almost completely forgotten everything that had happened in season 1 of JJK. Each fight is a back and forth battle of strategy and skill that leads to some of the most exciting sequences in battle shonen history. It was fun, I enjoyed my time watching it, and that was about it. It's a carefully prepared plate of no BS, straight up, hard-hitting action that leaves little time for actual story development. The series' character designs are Bleach inspired. It also uses a messy art style to complement the action. They feel like a breath of fresh air. The main trio and use of Sukuna as a villain inside the Protagonist are Naruto inspired, still managing to retain a unique identity. It takes all the best ideas battle shonen have produced. Jujutsu Kaisen is a perfect shonen. The paneling is very hard to follow at points, a large portion of its cast still feels underdeveloped, and the story isn't anything to write home about. Jujutsu Kaisen will take over, unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's not a show for everyone. It's a common trope for senseis in battle shonen to be overpowered, but Jujutsu Kaisen takes this one step further with Gojo, who is actually the strongest man in the world, and sets the power ceiling for the series. You literally never know who's gonna win and who's gonna die. I can think of countless times where my predictions on who would win a certain fight were just completely off. Jujutsu Kaisen's power system, like any other great power system, creates a possibility for anyone in the series to defeat anyone else with proper preparation and utilization of their skill sets.
It broke the status quo. Jujutsu Kaisen has solidified itself as the future pirate king of new gen shonen, and that's because it doesn't play by the same formula or follow the established rule set by its predecessors.
Oh shit, here we go again.
It builds off the classic shonen tropes, subverts them, and cranks it up to wumbo.
I haven't seen anything like that.
Never really seen done before.
For me, when a series like Jujutsu Kaisen breaks this trope in both process and structure, we get something truly great.
Something you more than likely have never experienced.
We had not seen up until this point.
You see, in other shonen series like MHA, Black Clover, and Fire Force, the main character would have accomplished the job in Yuji's position. They save the day, they're rewarded for that aspect, and they're one step closer to achieving their goals, and someone like Junpei would have ended up joining the main crew. For Yuji, it's the exact opposite. He fails, he isn't rewarded, and he has to reevaluate his entire ideology. It's not only that Jujutsu Kaisen is choosing not to follow the rules, they're intentionally breaking them.
I have never read that in manga.
Which have never been seen before.
It's why Jujutsu Kaisen is so good, because none of the characters in the story doesn't follow any set of rules. And one of the things I noticed about the show is that it intentionally breaks rules that other shows have. Such as the trope that shonen protagonists can't kill anybody directly. And Jujutsu Kaisen verbally addresses and breaks this rule.
Jujutsu Kaisen's approach to this is vastly different. Characters are not only dying, it's often the good guys who have to make these tough decisions.
I have never read that or seen that in anime.
It's like nothing we've ever seen before.
Jujutsu Kaisen feels like a real, natural breathing, organically evolving show.
I haven't seen it yet.
And we haven't seen anything even close to that.
Unlike video games, which do have a bunch of rules, that do have a bunch of invisible barriers that stops you from doing the things you want to do for the sake of good gameplay. I need my shows to feel like life, not a video game.
Jujutsu Kaisen did what many of its contemporaries couldn't do. It broke the status quo. And that's why it cemented itself as arguably the best new gen series next to Chainsaw Man.
If you want originality, you want something different,
which we've never seen before.
The more energy, the stronger it will be. If there's anything that would even stand out in Jujutsu Kaisen, it would just so happen to be its own power system. Without a doubt, it would easily be one of the most creative and one of the most complex systems out to date, with many different factors that just end up giving this power system a lot of depth.
This is shameless.
The first factor being your emotions. How you feel will ultimately determine how you're going to fight in this series. The more energy, the stronger it will be, which undoubtedly makes you stronger.
This is just so shameless. I respect it.
Having enough cursed energy would even allow you to see evil spirits, known as curses. The more energy, the stronger it will be.
Like, it's just so openly shameless.
Now, one of the most interesting factors of using cursed energy is being able to use it and put it in your own weapon. The more energy, the stronger it will be.
Or they could put bread on the table. They need money.
You could even channel the cursed energy throughout your entire body. When channeling cursed energy, there's actually a lot of depth that comes with it when it comes to fighting an opponent. Make sure that whoever has more energy will end up having an advantage.
They need to make money is their source of revenue.
There's more where that came from, because when it comes to cursed energy control, you would even be able to use cursed energy defensively and protect your body from oncoming attacks. If someone channels a lot of cursed energy into an attack and you just so happen to channel more cursed energy into your body for defense, you can already guess which one is going to win. It's going to be the one with the more energy put behind it.
You know, it makes sense. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Every single punch is going to be painful no matter how much strength he uses, simply because of his energy. The more energy, the stronger it will be. It really makes that much of a difference.
I said this was shameless.
What is so special about the Black Flash, you may ask? Well, it makes the impact and the damage of an attack equal to the power of 2.5. Any single attack would end up being in a completely different league with the Black Flash behind it. The more energy, the stronger it will be.
This is looking a little bit sus, so to speak.
When it comes to the presence of cursed energy, you'd be able to sense it and realize how dangerous an opponent can really be. The more energy, the stronger it will be.
It is pretty freaking shameless.
With that being said, you'll be able to multiply your own cursed energy, which in turn would be able to even heal you. The more energy, the stronger it will be.
It is shameless. But as I said, I respect it.
Depending on what family you were born in when it comes to Jujutsu Kaisen will determine what kind of curse technique you will have. And this would simply be due to just being born with the right genes.
It's so funny with how bad it is.
Cursed energy output would be a huge defensive and offensive option that you can use in a fight. This would allow anyone to be able to shoot cursed energy right through their own body. An individual will be able to process and concentrate all of this energy and then fire it at anyone, making a ranged attack. Cursed energy output attacks would have a huge destructive force depending on the concentration of the energy. The more energy, the stronger it will be.
That's funny. That's legitimately funny.
Domain expansions are practically an I wanna win button. You use your domain expansion, you won. Unless someone has more cursed energy than you. Because yes, domains all depend on one person's cursed energy. And whichever one would be the most polished or has more cursed energy supporting it would end up winning the domain expansion fight.
The way this is presented is so transparent.
When it comes to a fight in this series and with this power system, anything can happen. The momentum and the tide of battle will switch at a moment's notice, with many different factors playing tug of war between life and death. The more energy, the stronger it will be.
That is insane.
Lies from fanboys, that's the reason. Someone asked what is everyone's opinion on the Shibuya arc of Jujutsu Kaisen, and these are the most interesting replies. This one says it's mediocre. He didn't care for hidden inventory and nothing in Shibuya has been very good so far. Huge disappointment after hearing all the hype. Somebody replies, seems like you never cared or were invested in JJK to begin with, so there is nothing to do at this point. That's a hell of an assumption to make. He really liked Season 1 and the movie. Season 2 is just not as good. So in a topic where people are supposed to express their opinions about something, the fanboys are saying, how do you expect me to react after such a take? Because everybody loves this show. Yes, everybody loves this show, but you're not allowed to have any other opinion, although you are free to have any opinion you want. He absolutely loved it and doesn't get all the hate. Sure, the animation is inconsistent, but every fight has been great. Look at all those upvotes. Somebody replies, it's because it was way too overhyped. For a shonen standards it's quite good, but hardly one of the best arcs ever. Look at all those downvotes. Shibuya has been a massive letdown. It became a weekly round of fighting episodic forgettable mini-bosses without any satisfying progress to the story. He can't get emotionally invested in the overarching plot. He got 2 replies here. One of them says, "What are you expecting when the enemy sealed Gojo and the good guys are trying to get him back? Of course there will be fights until they get him, no? Because this is what the plot is always about. Gojo, 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 Gojo." The other reply is, "Well, this is pretty much what the rest of the series is gonna be like, lol." Every anime he enjoyed has so much criticism, and it's always from manga readers, complaining about the adaptation not being perfect. Somebody replies, "It's not only manga readers. A large portion of anime onlys complain that Shibuya hasn't lived up to the hype." His response is, "I don't know what they are smoking. Every episode has had a killer fight. I have no idea what else can exist between each encounter." Oh, I don't know. Plot? Characterization? He can't think what else can exist outside of the action. Shibuya seems to be a collection of fights. It's pretty, but that's all it really is. He's keeping his fingers crossed for more character-focused stuff. His reply is, "You might wanna drop JJK right now. Characterization and slow-down moments go out the window." He hasn't been a huge fan. The plot has just come to a halt for like a month now. The reply is, "There is no more team of 3 MC going on missions anymore. You're introduced to the main antagonist, the brain guy. Sukuna has 15 fingers. You are at the actual meat and potatoes of what's really going on in the verse right now. Basically, here's where the real plot of JJK begins." The response is, saying that's all what it is isn't exactly a vote of confidence. The main antagonist has undergone a significant drop-off in interest. Going from Geto, Gojo's former squadmate and philosophical rival, to a random brain occupying his body really sucks. He doesn't give a shit about him. Especially when you're considering the fact that he was fleshed out and he got a backstory, and then you get this stupid twist. Blah. This season confirms to him that JJK got carried by great animation and fight choreography. The plot and character development is close to non-existent. The usual reply to that is, people really just hate popular things for the sake of it. Meaning, just completely ignore all the criticism. Here is something I've been saying for months. I can't connect with JJK. There is no investment in the characters. They could kill the main character and I wouldn't care. And I stopped trying to understand how the powers work, since they keep introducing new rules and explanations to everything. At this point, I don't know if it's super complex or plain bad writing. Geto's villain arc went a long way towards making him a more interesting antagonist. Shibuya has been nothing but empty set pieces and random character deaths, set to a narrator that sucks all of the energy out of every scene she's in. Also, it's revealed that Gojo's compelling character arc isn't relevant to the series at all, because he's been dead throughout the whole series. People on Reddit are so eager to hate on things and share their hate with everyone, lol. Reading this thread, one would think that Shibuya arc totally sucks and that almost every person in the anime community only cares about the plot and character development. Which is not true at all, since the ratings this season has received so far are really good, despite the inconsistent animation, because animation is the only thing that matters. This show is a battle shonen, and it does a great job at being exactly that. Yes, it's just a battle shonen. Nobody overhyped it as something other than that. The reason it is getting hyped from the manga readers was mainly the fights. Yes, it was totally not the depth of the fighting system, or the very in-depth characters, or the elaborate world building, it was just the fights. Yeah, sure. If you don't like it, go watch Attack on Titan, which is totally not a shonen, and its writing is so much better at the end, right? Those will give you all the plot and character development you need. Sure, if you consider plot and character development being brainwashing and time travel, bleh. So somebody replies, I mean, this literally is a thread asking about people's opinions. The episode thread is full of hype comments from people who love it. God forbid people have different tastes and opinions. And his response is, People of this community are overly negative and their reason for hating the show is stupid. Maybe if you hadn't overhyped it, it wouldn't be so. Most of the people here shouldn't have started watching JJK at all, because apparently they are just not into battle shonen. They began watching it because you overhyped it, you moron. You kept on saying it's something other than that. Yet they decided to watch it, literally expecting it to be something completely different because of you, not realizing what the reason is for this show to become popular in the first place. Lies from fanboys, that's the reason. You should go watch something else, since you clearly have a very different taste than all those people that are loving Shibuya so far, who are totally not overhyping it as the best shonen arc of all times, am I right? No sir, it's just the haters. The fanboys had absolutely nothing to do with this. Fucking hypocrites, all of them.
It's why I like Tokyo Ghoul. Yuji isn't a typical template for a shonen MC, and that's why I like Yuji. Yuji is a character that continuously loses things. He doesn't really get many wins whatsoever, actually pretty much none at this point. Like, anything that really is significant, he doesn't really win. Yuji is probably my favorite current gen. Obviously, this can make it to where you don't have interest in the character, because obviously you want to see your MC win. You want to see your MC succeed. When you think of shonen stories in general, what they're supposed to represent, they're supposed to represent hope and the ability to accomplish the impossible. But Yuji is a character that continuously takes L's and is pushed into the dirt. I like seeing a character just continuously getting ripped apart. Call me malicious. He becomes someone that people make fun of or they don't care too much about because of just his very role in the story. He's sidelined in his own story. I like seeing that. I think it's very fascinating seeing a character just continuously destroyed. It's why I like Tokyo Ghoul. I loved the journey of Tokyo Ghoul, seeing characters literally just crushed into the ground, and no matter what they do, they cannot get out of that hole. And Yuji's kind of an example of that. He just cannot get out of that hole of darkness at all.
The Japanese fandom seems to agree with us. Hadrons are actually made of quarks which have 3 colors: red, blue and green. Gojo already has red and blue, which combine to form purple. But when he's resurrected with true enlightenment after killing his ego, he'll have an even deeper knowledge of curse energy and awaken green. Especially when we look at Gege's own comments regarding Gojo stating he's the honored one, it was in regard to his arrogance. Therefore, he has to kill his ego. Now, when all 3 lights mix, you get white. And that will be Gojo's new power. Okay, this sounds a bit stupid. But the Japanese fans of this community also back this up with the idea of Gojo being just like Buddha. In chapter 230, Sukuna calls Gojo a Bonpu, a Buddhist term meaning someone who is not enlightened, the opposite of honored one. But the colors of hollow techniques are related to the Dhyani Buddhas, which states the 4 colors of blue, red, green and yellow, because the parallels between Buddha's journey in 4 directions and the events in Gojo's life are very similar. For example, when Buddha went east, he aided a child, mirroring Gojo helping Itadori. In the west, he healed a sick individual, paralleling Gojo helping Yuta, who was also a sick child. Southward, Buddha encountered the dead, just like Gojo has after chapter 236. And the only direction left is north, which is when Buddha was re-enlightened, just like Gojo if he goes north to remake himself. All of this connects together and the Japanese fandom seems to agree with us.
What the f*** is this piece of shit?
You are sick and need mental health care! Someone asked if anyone else is emotionally disconnected with what is going on in the Shibuya arc of Jujutsu Kaisen. Despite being the most hyped up arc of all times, it doesn't really give you any reason to care about the characters who are fighting and dying in it. Hundreds of people agreed with him with this post in particular, summing up all the examples as to why. First point, the show is moving too fast and doesn't let the characters have enough interactions to make you care about them. Counterpoint, well, the entire arc only lasts a few hours, so how can you expect characters to interact in the middle of a battle? It is nothing but action, so it makes complete sense why you are not feeling anything about them. Stop complaining about it. Second point, Geto was fleshed out as a main antagonist with connections to Gojo. The current Geto is not the same character. He's a monster possessing Geto's corpse. So why would you care about him? Counterpoint, Geto is not the main character, Yuji is the main character, and it's all about him getting character development. Meaning they are all plot devices for the development of a character nobody cares about. It's also a story about identity and humanity, which don't really matter because the fights overshadow everything else. Third point, the Sasuke wannabe meets his dead dad. His dead dad immediately kills himself without even interacting with the Sasuke wannabe, thus making the reunion completely pointless. What is there to care about? Counterpoint, who gives a shit about emotions? I just watch it for the pretty colors. Stop mentioning the importance of characters and just enjoy the pretty colors. Fourth point, Nanami dies without ever interacting much with Yuji, so why would anyone give a shit about him? Counterpoint, you're a hater without a reason. Everyone loves the manga, so that means everyone likes the anime. As we all know, the impressions people have about the manga are always the same with the anime, so you're stupid for not liking it. Fifth and final point. There are no interesting interactions among the characters. Nobody feels to be close to anyone else. He behaves the same regardless of whom he is talking to. Geto is not even the same character they had built up from the previous arc. And now the remaining counterpoints. If you don't like it, why are you commenting and watching it? Are you stupid? Who told you to watch the most hyped up shonen arc of the past 2 years? You are insane for watching the most popular anime of the past 2 years. And then you dare to have an opinion? Go away, hater! JJK is subtle and complex. You are too stupid to get it because you only want heavy-handed stories. Go away and let me watch my convoluted battle terminology and the pretty colors, then move on screen. There's nothing wrong with the show. It's a you problem, and you are the only one who doesn't like the show because everybody else loves it. There is clearly something wrong in your life. You are sick and need mental health care. And that's why Jujutsu Kaisen is amazing, and if you don't love everything about it, it means you are stupid.
It really is goodbye for her character. Nobara, her send-off is legitimately sad, because she is a good character. She is a really good female character, very strong, unique abilities, and she had a very unique personality for the story. She perfectly complemented the cast, and seeing her being gone is definitely going to be a dark spot within the story, because she's gone. She will no longer be within panels or anime episodes. She's just gone. This is such an emotional episode, and it's hard to say goodbye to Nobara, but it really is goodbye for her character.
Do you have any idea how dumb you sound right now?
This is still such a beautiful meal to be consumed here. I'm just gonna sit here and gushing grannies over Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 because I believe it is a masterpiece of action shonen. That being said, I do understand that a lot of people have complaints about its story and its power scaling, but overall it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story or the show as a whole. I believe that Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen is legitimately a masterpiece in animation and action for some of its characters not ever really being developed and sometimes just used to like shock death and like startle viewers, but overall it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story or the show as a whole. It is clear that so much passion went into this season. It oozes out of every frame of this show. They introduced some really cool characters, only like quickly just kill them off, but overall it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story or the show as a whole. It is mind-boggling just how good Season 2 is when it comes to its action, or even kill off a character that never really had a chance to really be fully explored and be fully fleshed out, even though there were all signs pointing to that being the case. But overall it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story or the show as a whole. This is the best pure action that anime has to offer, period. The narrative was there just to subvert your expectations for the sake of it, but overall it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story or the show as a whole. It's just this fucking non-stop runaway train of beauty, and I loved every second of the ride. It felt a little unsatisfying to see a character's story come to a close the way that it did, but overall it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story or the show as a whole. I really do just want to sing its praises because I think what's been produced is something extremely special. There are plenty of valid complaints like about what not to like about Jujutsu Kaisen when it comes to story and characters and whatever, but overall it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the story or the show as a whole. Yes, you can want more narratively, I get it, but Jesus Christ, this is still such a beautiful meal to be consumed here. I loved it.
Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
How women should be treated in modern day stories.
The Whip Commander made a video where he was crusty about a scene in JJK that had nudity and incest. What is this? Was he bothered by the degeneracy of modern anime? No, he was just unable to accept JJK as not as smart as he thought. It is not an elaborate masterpiece for smart people who like strong and independent women. It is a generic shonen with convoluted terminology that lives and dies by its Gojo dick riding. But he can't accept that and spends 24 minutes of incomprehensible rambling in trying to excuse the inexcusable. It's delusional fanboys like him that make people constantly wonder how smart, non-smart shows like JJK really are, and to get the following answers.
One of the most grueling, disgusting, and downright hideous moments in all of JJK's manga, one of the most dreaded and least looked forward to anime adaptation scenes we've seen in years. And in fact, the dread for this scene was so incredibly existential and wide-reaching that almost every single manga reader who's picked up JJK hoped that Mappa would just skip it. All in all, the scene is horrible, gross, and disgusting, and has no place existing in such an incredible universe. Where do we all stand on the naked woman laying in bed with her underaged brother? The situation is equally bad regardless of the genders involved and what roles they play. It's illegal, it's gross, and it has no place in anime and manga. Nobody looks at Mushoku Tensei or Seven Deadly Sins as exactly how women should be written in the new gen, as people often look at characters like Utahime or Nobara as the golden standard for how women should be written in new gen anime and manga. Independently powerful women who aren't reliant on the men around them and are able to be motivated outside of the motivations of the men around them, all while still managing to hold on to their femininity. And really, when it comes down to writing women that are individually power and singularly motivated, Gege Katami has crushed it. He truly has set the golden standard for the next generation of anime and manga artists to show how women should be treated in modern day stories. Characters like Nobara and Maki shine on their own.
It's just a really good story overall. The Shibuya Incident arc. I believe it's one of the best anime arcs that has ever been animated. It's just nice that there aren't any major plot holes. Everything just makes sense and has a logical explanation, especially because Mekamaru is putting in overtime in terms of being a narrative device. I mean, the guy is dead and still single-handedly carrying the exposition of the entire arc. Without Mekamaru, literally nobody would know what's going on. Not the viewers, and especially not the characters.
You can't make this shit up!
Since everybody that's there is important, they all get their time in the spotlight. And it's better this way because it would have really been a waste of potential if we didn't get entire episodes that focused on the fights of the other characters. The balance of having the focus on Yuji to show that he is the main character, but also shifting to others is very well done and adds a lot of fluidity to the story. And the best example for this is Inumaki. Most people, me included, probably forgot about him entirely. He's not dead, but still treated like just another casualty.
You can't make this shit up!
The introduction allows us to get invested into the show and grow attached to individual characters. You feel more involved because you don't want to see your favorite character die. Most people, me included, probably forgot about him entirely.
You can't make this shit up!
The impact of this arc is unprecedented. It's impactful to us as the viewers because so many named characters either die, get fatally injured, or are for some other reason essentially removed from the story. Most people, me included, probably forgot about him entirely.
You can't make this shit up!
If Gojo isn't safe, then no one is. This way we actually get invested in the story. Anybody could die, and there's no plot armor because this is war, and everyone's on the chopping block.
You can't make this shit up!
And although it's fiction, this makes it feel just a little closer to reality. It feels unbelievably real, because we know this is real.
You can't make this shit up!
All of this is why I think that the Shibuya Incident arc is one of the greatest anime arcs ever to be animated. It's just a really good story overall.
As soon as he came out of the seal, we went right back to the same setup, and he stole the show once again. I love Gojo, he's my favorite character in Jujutsu Kaisen, one of the best overpowered anime characters of this era. And it's also the reason why people are now freaking out and threatening to drop Jujutsu Kaisen because of what happened to Gojo.
In case you didn't know, Gojo, the only thing people are watching Jujutsu Kaisen for, is dead for the time being, and the protagonist along with a bunch of other people whose name I can't remember are fighting the second strongest character. Wanna take a guess what the only thing everybody is waiting for actually is? When is Gojo coming back? Who would have known that the strongest good guy in a fighting shonen would be the main appeal, and if you take him away, the fanboys won't stop talking about how much they want him back? That's exactly what happened with Goku in Dragon Ball, All Might in My Hero Academia, and Naruto in Boruto. Power in a power fantasy is everything, and when you take it away, people want it back.
Gojo is definitely my personal favorite, and whenever he is on screen, he upstages everyone. Gojo is overpowered, and he is a fan favorite Jujutsu Rizzler, so what? The issue is that Gojo is not the main character.
Which is why the only thing the fanboys can talk about in Jujutsu Kaisen, other than when Gojo is coming back, is who can be the next Gojo? Who has the powers of Gojo, and who can revive Gojo? So much for the Shibuya arc being considered the best shonen arc of all times. Despite being nothing but fights and nobody's dying, everyone was just making temples in the name of Gojo, praying for him to come back. They don't give a shit about the tens of thousands of people who died in the arc. They just want Gojo back.
Gege created a Riz monster, an overpowered and incredibly popular character whom everyone loves. The only way to stop Gojo from always stealing the show is to remove Gojo from the story. This is exactly what Gege does in Shibuya. You better believe that a ton of people in the JJK fan community were complaining and saying, "Where's Gojo? We need Gojo. I'm not reading until they bring back Gojo."
Of course, if you say that to a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, he's not going to admit it. He will act like everybody cares a lot about other characters as well, like that guy, what's his name, the one who summons monsters, or that other guy, I can't remember his face, he has a magic sword, I think. So as you see, we care about many things. Now excuse me as I return to sacrificing a goat in the altar of Gojo-sama.
Gege gave in and Gojo was released, but then as soon as he came out of the seal, we went right back to the same setup, and he stole the show once again. The other sorcerers were literally watching from the sidelines as the big battle went down, and for most of it, they were just like commentators giving us a play-by-play of what was happening in the fight.
It's getting boring, it's been repetitive already. Jujutsu Kaisen stood alone on the top of a mountain, untouchable by every other manga series. It's getting boring, it's been repetitive already. Gojo vs Sukuna was currently going on, and this was the biggest thing that was happening in all of anime at the time. The excitement for these fights is kind of dead by now. Every fan base was in on Jujutsu Kaisen. Even if you weren't a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, you knew everything that was going on in the fight between Gojo versus Sukuna. There has been nothing new, nothing interesting, nothing intricate about every fight that we've seen since Gojo versus Sukuna. Everybody knew about this. This was practically a global event that was going on. This was undoubtedly one of the biggest fights we've seen in anime and manga since Goku versus Jiren. For the last 6 months, Gege Akutami has literally recycled the same exact fight and just put it into a different font, and we've been eating it up this entire time. Jujutsu Kaisen had placed itself on a different level compared to every other manga. It was the exact same thing that happened every other fight. Things were only ramping up because we were getting new fighters entering the fight to battle against Sukuna. But unfortunately, we didn't get that, and many people, including myself, were extremely disappointed with the outcome of the fight. A breath of fresh air. It would feel like something new and unique, something we haven't seen before. It's getting boring. It's been repetitive already. Jujutsu Kaisen is my favorite new gen manga. I love this series. The excitement for these fights is kind of dead by now.
There is a possibility that he isn't going to come out on top and actually win. Jujutsu Kaisen has been trending all day today on social media, and you're probably wondering to yourself what happened. Well, nothing bad actually.
Hey guys, JJK is trending because someone is hyped up as able to defeat Sukuna. How new and refreshing, unlike anything we've seen before. Best new gen manga.
We got some information about the current events within the manga that honestly is leading to some very exciting developments.
Ain't you excited after the 10th time the mangaka hypes up someone and then clowns him in a few pages? If you still are, you're a real moron to fall for it 10 times in a row.
Leaks came out saying basically the origin of Yuji's, I guess strength. Why he's as strong as he is.
The guy who is supposed to be the main character is a special chosen one now. He's not an average guy. He has broken powers and can use Black Flash all the time. Ain't you excited? Why would anyone be excited? There have been 100 special chosen ones at this point. Adding another one means nothing.
It all really does come together. It's legitimately an incredible piece of information we got, and it doesn't necessarily feel like, let's say, an ass pull or anything like that. It doesn't feel like a retcon.
Ain't you excited to see the plot? Excusing why the protagonist is so strong? That's good writing! Not really. He never felt like a main character throughout the entire series, and the mangaka has hyped up so many characters in a short amount of time, the repetition alone is enough to kill any interest.
People really don't like Yuji. He doesn't give off that presentation that he is always going to win. But I don't necessarily think that is, the quote-unquote what an MC should do, and I just love to see it.
Ain't you excited to see a protagonist who constantly loses and gets constantly overshadowed by everyone else? Now that's what a good protagonist is all about! A protagonist who doesn't feel important in his own show is not a good protagonist.
JGK overall, cooking this week. Legitimately cooking. Love to see the chapter how it was, and I cannot wait to see what happens next, because it finally seems like Sukuna, really, there is a possibility that he isn't going to come out on top and actually win. It is 100% a possibility.
Don't care if they contradict themselves all the time. I've been hearing the same rhetoric since the time Naruto was revealed to be the special chosen one, and there are still supporters of this dumb take. This guy said I was wrong to call Yuji a special chosen one. I had to look up that name since I don't remember whom he's talking about. Turns out it's the supposed protagonist of Jujutsu Kaisen, who is not a special chosen one, because if he was, he wouldn't have any actual progression to unlock his powers. So by that definition, there isn't a single special chosen one in any fighting shonen because they all train to learn their powers, despite the prophecies and the destinies and the special lineages. Or this guy has a hard time accepting that all protagonists in shonen start as normal people who have to train and then get retconned into Jesus figures who always had special powers in order to excuse the broken power scaling. So by this definition, he's wrong, since using fighting shonen logic, Yuji is a special chosen one, just like all the other ones. The same guy also mentions the second most used excuse of the special chosen one, which is always being the strongest, while Yuji was always weak compared to most other fighters. Okay, and Buddha was not born as the strongest, so what's your point? The chosen one is not always the strongest. Even Jesus was arrested and crucified by a bunch of normie Romans. And as far as fighting shonen goes, the protagonists are never the strongest until the story is about to be over. Thus, once again, this guy doesn't know what he is talking about. Then he uses the protagonist excuse to get away with it. He's not the special chosen one, he's just the protagonist, and all protagonists are doing things that are amazing. Well then, by this definition, Yuji is not the protagonist, since as he said himself, he was always weaker, and was always getting overshadowed by most other fighters. Therefore, he cannot use this excuse, since he is not protagonist material. And despite all the undeniable proof, this guy kept spamming in the comment section the same 3 excuses, while constantly contradicting himself whenever he was switching among these 3 excuses. He's not the chosen one because he had to train, but then he had special powers all along. He is not the chosen one because he's not the strongest, but he is the protagonist, so he has to be the chosen one. And then he has no presence as a protagonist because he is overshadowed by everyone else, but he is the protagonist, therefore he has the most presence. It doesn't matter what everybody else was telling him, he was flip-flopping from one mental gymnastic to another based on whatever suited him the most. Hilarious! Once again, it was proven why all Jujutsutards can do is use the same convoluted excuses to explain why they like the show so much, and don't care if they contradict themselves all the time.
Have we gotten as low as the My Hero Academia community? Jujutsu Kaisen fans truly are something else. This, as you can see in front of you, is the top 20 Jujutsu Kaisen ships. The fact that Gojo and Yuji is at the number 1 spot, closely followed by Gojo and Megumi, I think really just goes to show what type of community we really are dealing with when it comes to JJK. When I see something like this, it really just goes to show what kind of community that JJK has really cultivated. This just all makes a lot of sense. The JJ community is really just down bad and weird, and we're never going to recover. Have we gotten as low as the My Hero Academia community? Stealing all of that main character spotlight. The coping that the Jujutsu Kaisen community has had for months at this point, like, Gojo's okay, Gojo is fine, Gojo is going to survive, Gojo's going to come back and face Sukuna. Gojo is somehow back. It does undermine previous decisions. It does lower the overall threat, so to speak, of Sukuna. Everybody is now calling JJK basically a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse type series. Anytime like a character dies and somehow comes back or whatever, people are quick to throw these memes around saying it is a Mickey Mouse series. The entire conversation of JJK has shifted to Gojo instead of Todo and Yuji. Gojo makes sense why he takes up the spotlight. People love him. He's a fan favorite character. Fangirls love him. Fanboys love him. Makes sense. He sells merchandise. He moves. He moves the series. But Yuji, you know, has obviously been putting in some work in the latest chapters, and I think that, you know, having the spotlight shift from Yuji to Gojo is a little bit sad because it's stealing all of that main character spotlight, so to speak, from, like, Yuji and giving it to Gojo, and all the discussion is going towards that.
All of this is by definition postmodern. Sukuna can almost be called a response to the previous iterations of the trope. As such, it's very obviously postmodern, right from the subversion of an established theme to the very structure of Sukuna being a response to a pre-existing condition, which closely resembles postmodernism itself being a response to a pre-existing artistic movement. Moreover, the story basically framing it like Sukuna was also very lonely initially, only for her to double down on the status as an irreproachable deity is also subversive storytelling. You could say that that's postmodern in itself too. In order to actually effectively comment on certain shonen tropes, Gege has to widen the scope of them, and his handling of the strongest trope is exemplary of this. He pushes the trope to its logical extreme with how characters that bear the title of the strongest are treated. If you look at any other story, the strongest is either an antagonist and they end up defeating him, or an ally that gets power cleft. Gojo is quite unique in how he's an ally, but is consistently the pinnacle of power in the series. This is what I mean by logical extreme, and again, all of this is by definition postmodern.
Just lobotomize them. It's very clear to see how Gojo fans are doing, just by this image alone. Lobotomy Kaisen is real. I've seen a lot of Gojo fans today drop the story because Gojo's gone now. Lobotomy Kaisen is real. Their reason for potentially reading the story is over because they had hope that he might come back. Lobotomy Kaisen is real. I've seen a lot of people just saying that JJK is just straight up, you know, booty cheeks now, or it's awful, and, you know, Gege can't write, etc., and, you know, basically dropping the manga. Lobotomy Kaisen is real. Obviously, a lot of people are upset they're dropping JJK because Gojo's now permanently dead. Lobotomy Kaisen is real. The only way that Gege could potentially like Gojo is to just lobotomize them.
Incredibly effective if you ask me. Satoru Gojo is back, but it's not actually Satoru Gojo. It's my man Yuta Okotsu. It's not only perfectly warranted, but intended by Gege thanks to the context of this latest chapter. The chapter went from ooh, I don't know about this Gege, to holy shit Gege, you are a sick fuck and this might just be some of the best stuff you've ever pulled, thanks to the context of this latest chapter. It's perfectly consistent thematically, narratively, in terms of the character writing, everything really. This was a plan that was formulated long before Gojo died. That's an important thing to note, thanks to the context of this latest chapter. It's kind of genius really. You give Gojo that salvation in death as a person, right? Whilst doubling down on all the issues that made Gojo need to be freed in the first place, thanks to the context of this latest chapter. Everything about Gojo vs Sukuna was specifically written to free Gojo from the burden of being the sole strongest, having to do everything alone, thanks to the context of this latest chapter. The idea of wanting Gojo, a fictional character, a narrative tool by all definitions, to return even though that's the last thing he himself would want, is fundamentally no different to the way he's exploited by the Jujutsu Society, thanks to the context of this latest chapter. I can already see the comments telling me I'm making up a bullshit meta reasoning to defend this garbage, but this is how Gege writes, and it's incredibly effective if you ask me.
You didn't find out about it after the fact. The Jutsu fanboys are currently at war with each other over whether Gojo coming back the way he did was good writing or not. The defenders keep showing the same flashback where they explain the twist. It was perfectly foreshadowed, therefore it was good writing. Whoever believes that is a complete moron, since the explanation came after the fact, which means it's a retcon, and therefore not good writing, especially since it wasn't foreshadowed. You didn't know about it before the fact. Anyone can add scenes in the past that magically explain what actually happened. It's so easy, any theory you might have had about the return of Gojo would be correct. If, for example, the plot was different and Gojo was a cursed spirit, we would get a different flashback where they show how that happened, and therefore it would be just as excused and foreshadowed as him being possessed by Yuta. The exact same case would happen if it was Kenjaku who possessed Gojo, or if Gojo resurrected on his own, or if it was an illusion. It doesn't matter what would have actually happened, because the flashback would be a retcon that doesn't foreshadow anything since it was added after the fact. And the funny thing is, the fanboys are so delusional, they can't even accept One Piece did a better job at retconning than Nika Godfruit, since the explanation was given right before the revelation. It's still a retcon, but you didn't find out about it after the fact. And yet these fanboys refuse to believe it because they are fanboys. They have to defend the product no matter how terrible the writing has become.
This movie isn't stupid! You're stupid!
And that is why you should never be a fanboy of anything.
You're feeding the reading comprehension curse on a weekly basis. Yuta stated he will make a binding vow that limits the use of malevolent shrine. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but have you guys noticed that binding vow seems to be the ultimate plot device that fixes all the writing problems and, hurdles for Gege to make the plot make sense? I'm just saying. Resonance has attacked Sukuna's soul, making him lose the domain battle with Yuji. This whole resonance concept that Todo picked up from nowhere. Why didn't they just tell Yuji their entire plan since thoughts can't cross over? Sukuna couldn't even feel there was a missing finger on Yuji the entire time.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
The return of Nobara, after being missing for 140 chapters and 4 years. Oh my god, man, this is some Disney Kaisen bullshit. Sukuna has been defeated. Bruh, you really need to increase your reading comprehension and start your second manga. Enjoy more peak fiction. Please, you're feeding the reading comprehension curse on a weekly basis.
Basking in the glory of my wealth and riches, we get a full page of Nobara holding a nail in her hand with an eye patch, saying, "Let's see some smiles, boys." Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, she's back! 142 chapters later, and I never once lost my resolve. And if that's not the most peak goddamn content you've ever read, I don't know what is. Nobara is my favorite character in JJK. There's a reason she's the only JJK character I have a tattoo of. I like her so much I put her face in the pit of my elbow. You know how much that hurts? And then you have to spend an entire week not bending your arm because if you do, you'll crease the tattoo. And thus people said, "Oh, Nick, your bias is showing through here. Of course you want Nobara to come back into the story. Nick, it's been 200 chapters. She's gone." But no. I kept the flame lit. I championed for her return, and look at me now, basking in the glory of my wealth and riches.
Gege cooked a masterpiece. A lot of you are confused and the reading comprehension curse lives on. But don't worry! I'm gonna dive deep, breaking down everything step by step. Now to enjoy more peak fiction, the final finger is revealed underground in a staircase to hell with many metaphors and philosophies being explored. Basically saying you're my best friend. The flight of the Hamsa symbolizes moksha, the release from the cycle of birth, death and reincarnation known as samsara. Basically saying you're my best friend. We saw similar symbolism back in chapter 149 when Maki looks down to see a reed in her hand, a symbol of geese and freedom in Japanese culture. Then it turns into the hilt of a sword. Now reeds have a huge meaning due to the Japanese phrase wild goose carrying reeds, which embraces the belief that geese would have reeds when flying across the ocean to rest their wings. Clearly, this is to represent my crossing over to the afterlife. Basically saying you're my best friend. Akatami commonly uses animals to characterize moments. Examples being Itadori and Mahito's fight, with the wolf finally taking out its prey. Basically saying you're my best friend. Wait, how is Megami talking if he got hit by a limited void?
I don't know.
Gege cooked a masterpiece. Mwah!
It has so much potential! Now that JJK is ending, I checked the early reviews of the manga to see why did people like it so much, and this is what I found. I decided to write a review on Jujutsu Kaisen mainly because of the potential I see in it. Am I giving it an 8 with so little information in it? Yes, this manga is going to be amazing and there is no doubt in my mind that that won't be. So he liked it so much not because it's good, but because he assumes it will be in the far future. The series are for those who love hard magic systems, good world building and are willing to wait for stories to pick up. The world seems not yet vastly explored. We've only seen 2 schools so far and have not seen the head of different Jujutsu families yet. We are not yet exposed to many potential storylines, and neither do we completely grasp the magic system. 9 out of 10. So he says it has amazing world building, although nothing is explored yet. But who knows? Maybe that means it will be explored in the far future and it will be great. It is a series that feels like it's not matching up to its potential. Every chapter feels like it's lacking something defined to it. There is so much the series could become, but it hasn't gotten there yet. It will be an action-packed, interesting read for you to pass the time for sure. So he knows it's lacking at several aspects, but it might not lack them in the far future, and therefore it's good. I think if the anime keeps up the good work, it may end up being one of the great shonen out there alongside the top ones, 9 out of 10. So he likes it because it might be one of the top ones and not because it is. It has so much potential, and I like where Akutami goes with the story. Of course, there are things that can be improved. JJK needs more world building. Here we go once again. It has potential, but it hasn't really gotten there, and that's why it's so good. And there you have it. Now you know why everybody liked it so much at first.
His character arc has become the single most important arc in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. Yuji Itadori is the smartest character in Jujutsu Kaisen. Yuji has revealed something that almost none of the other characters can. Yuji has realized that there is no good and evil. One of the defining revelations of the final arc, and it's what makes Yuji one of the most unique protagonists in all of manga. His maturity reveals the core philosophy of Jujutsu Kaisen. Good guys, bad guys, I don't know which is truly human. This right here is quite easily the most profound moment in Jujutsu Kaisen. Good and evil are dead. This is the core message of Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's best defined in the mature philosophy of Yuji Itadori. As a result, his character arc has become the single most important arc in all of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Am I a joke to you?
The ship of bombs that never fulfilled their potential is sailing! The culling game is still ongoing with a sequel being set up. Well, That's the copium everyone is huffing. We are all begging for a sequel, otherwise these last 4 chapters in the epilogue, they're absolutely good. I just don't understand the logic to brush through such an impactful character that shaped the entire story, unless, of course, there is a sequel being set up. Copium. All the minor characters are having their story arcs concluded, whilst major plot threads stay alive with the others, which, let me take another whiff of copium. This means there must be a sequel getting ready, right? I don't get why Gege doesn't just explain that himself and confirm it. Just tell us more, please. Why do I have to make a headcanon? Copium. You know what we do care about? It's Takaba and Kenjaku returning. This panel alone could save Jujutsu Kaisen's ending by providing us enough copium to believe in part 2. We all had a hard time accepting Kenny's death. It left a bad taste in our mouths. This man lived for over 1,000 years to see his dream come into fruition, but then he died like a dog. But so many possible things are happening here. Inhale some more copium right now, I'm telling ya. So the conclusion and final chapter must explain the merger, Tengen's barrier, and the whole concept of removing curses altogether. This will all need to be addressed in the next part of Jujutsu Kaisen if there's a sequel, which I'm coping with, because if there isn't, these last 4 chapters are trash. The second possibility is complete copium, and it's that Kenjaku revived on his own. Gege will have to come back to this question so his story can have a real conclusion. However, the ship of bombs that never fulfilled their potential is sailing. Yay! You guys are sitting at home with no bitches and body pillows. Get a hold of yourself, people.
It will inevitably lead to a defining moment in the anime community. JJK will define the new standard of anime.
Never seeing Megumi's full potential that Gojo talked about.
Will be the standard that future anime will be compared to.
Never seeing Megumi's complete domain.
It is very clear that JJK is going to come out on top and have a major impact on how people compare anime.
Nobara being gone for majority of the story just to come back at the end when she could have been there all along. I get it's for shock value, but it's a waste of her character.
JJK will also come to define a new generation of anime fans.
Random plot lines introduced in the last chapters to make it seem like Gege was building up to something.
JJK will be the new standard of anime.
Not one person talked about Gojo's death. No one acting like they cared, no burial shown.
It's obvious that JJK is going to become the new standard.
Not getting a Sukuna backstory whatsoever.
JJK will come to define a new generation of anime fans.
Wasting the last chapters on calling game characters instead of students.
JJK is going to define a new generation of anime fans.
Gege only cared about the fights. That's it. There's nothing else that really mattered. Story, character development, nothing mattered at all.
JJK will define the new standard of anime.
Man, look at that great beginning, and look at that absolute pile of dog shit.
Will be the standard that future anime will be compared to.
I don't know what Gege was cooking, but he burnt the food. He burnt the food, and it is not good whatsoever. I would spit this out and rate it a 1 out of 10.
It is very clear that JJK is going to come out on top and have a major impact on how people compare anime.
I put it almost on the same tier as Game of Thrones' ending.
Because of the amazing source material and massive potential it has. It will inevitably lead to a defining moment in the anime community.
The amount of potential JJK had, like just the story itself and the world building, was so unbelievably vast. Just to see it squandered, it's like, why?
Clearly, he is a fantastic author.
Gege must secretly be a comedian because Sukuna giving everyone the middle finger in the last panel to the whole fan base. It's hilarious.
Hey, it's his choice, it's his story. The best we can do is respect his vision as an author.
He ended up executing a happy ending that was extremely rushed with gaping holes of open-ended questions that the fans expected to be answered.
But hey, it's Gege's story, and as long as he does it the way he wants, there's nothing more I could ask for.
Jujutsu Kaisen will be remembered for its squandered potential.
I have faith, I really truly have faith in him as an author. I just know he has got something special planned for Megumi, and I cannot wait to see what he does.
It could have had immense world building, insane emotional moments with meaningful characters, and amazing arcs. Where's the Heian era arc, right?
That's the case, you know, JJK wouldn't have so many fans, it wouldn't have so many people interested, and it wouldn't be selling this well.
I give Jujutsu Kaisen's ending a 5.5 out of 10.
Clearly, he is a fantastic author who is doing a lot of things right. He's a great author, not just a great one actually, a very great one of the best in his industry.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing.
I didn't read it, but it's my favorite. The coping about the ending of JJK continues with this jewel of a review. This brilliant reviewer loves it because it was his first manga. That's it, he doesn't care how awful it became. It was his first manga, therefore he loves it. He also openly admits he wasn't even reading the manga he loved so much, he was just reading the leaks. Thus we get another case of it's my favorite book. I didn't read it, but it's my favorite. Lobotomy Kaisen at its finest. He admits the ending was terrible, but even then he doesn't mind it much because he hopes there is going to be a sequel so he can continue to be lobotomized by not reading it and instead checking the leaks. Thus he is fine with letting Gege spending a decade in making an idol manga until he gets bored with it and ends it in a hurry, so he can go back to write the sequel of JJK, which this guy won't read, he will only check the leaks, but he will like it regardless. He then openly admits his favorite character is Gojo, big shocker I know, and he expects him to return despite being officially gone forever. It doesn't make any sense, but that is what he hopes will happen in a sequel that doesn't exist and will not read even if it does exist. Because the Gojo copion will never end even if everyone tells him Gojo is gone forever. Then he ends the review by lying about reading anything Gege makes next. He doesn't care if it's shit, he's gonna read it regardless. Or rather be checking out the leaks and receiving more Lobotomy Kaisen every week. And that is what Jujutsutards are in a nutshell.
Subversion. After giving it some thought and revisiting both series, I've concluded that Yuji Itadori's journey in JJK is actually a subversion of Naruto Uzumaki's journey. Subversion. Yuji and Naruto both have demons inside them, but while Naruto was able to befriend his inner demon, Yuji's demon is an irredeemable menace to society. Subversion. The same type of subversion happens when you consider their respective team dynamics. Nobara was simply a close friend who platonically admired Yuji as opposed to the unhealthy one-sided crush dynamic that Naruto had going on with Sakura. Subversion. Kakashi was a humble leader who empathized teamwork and is seemingly the complete opposite of Satoru Gojo, who is the walking embodiment of the word ego and whose iconic line is "I alone am the honored one." Subversion. The difference between Sasuke and Megumi is the fact that Megumi didn't choose to turn against Yuji. Instead, Megumi had his body taken by Sukuna against his will. Subversion. Naruto is going to spam every single color of Rasengan he has in his arsenal and drag Sasuke back to the village even if he had to break every bone in his body. Yuji, in chapter 266, openly admits to Megumi that he has no right to tell him that he should want to live after experiencing the continuous cycle of despair they've been through together. Subversion. This highlights the key difference between Yuji and Naruto. Naruto changes others while Yuji is changed by others. Subversion. It allows the villains of Naruto to receive genuine empathy from someone who understands and shares their pain, thus leading to their redemption after Naruto defeats them. The villains in JJK, on the other hand, are completely irredeemable. Subversion. Both stories have a world that is plagued by cruelty and pain, but Naruto changes his world while Yuji accepts the world as it is and changes himself. Subversion.
No reason crying over spilled milk, so to speak.
If you thought there wouldn't be any more Jujutsutards videos because the manga is over, you were wrong because there is a sequel now, and the bullshit continues as normal. As always, Chibi's the moron I am following closely for such things, and he didn't fail to deliver with this bullshit of a video regarding the first chapter.
I thought this was going to be a dumpster fire. Trash. Slop. I thought it was going to be something that I was going to meme on upon me making a video of it today. It is actually correcting a lot of problems or a lot of mysteries, like answering a lot of mysteries that, you know, the original series left open.
He apologizes for not expecting the sequel to be good since it fixes everything. Yeah, newsflash, it didn't fix anything. No plot holes were filled, no mysteries were answered, and in general nothing improved. Typical liar YouTuber.
It has the potential to be the modern age Dragon Ball.
Yeah, call it the new Dragon Ball. That will definitely lure people towards something that is not remotely similar to Dragon Ball. Also, what a high bar. Dragon Ball is such a quality anime, isn't it? And did you notice how he never apologizes for calling a show amazing and then admits it was crap? It's because he doesn't have to. He either drops it after that point, or he just talks about the community shitting on it. He only apologizes when he said something negative and wants to continue dick riding it for the money, because that's what Jujutsutards are all about.
Gege Akutami, the author of JJK, legitimately is cooking. The only reason why Sukuna was basically defeated was because he needed to be defeated. He had to lose. If it wasn't for that, he probably would have won in the end. That doesn't matter anymore, because it's long done, it's said and done, it's over. No reason crying over spilled milk, so to speak.
Yes, he's such a great writer, he completely destroyed his story, but please ignore all the bullshit in the plot. No need to cry over spilled milk. Let's continue to dick ride JJK by saying he's a great writer.
If you are a fan and you want more content, obviously you should read this.
Yup, that's exactly the reason why you should continue reading it and watching his videos. You want more weekly slop, and he's here to tell you why it's good. Also, he apologized for calling it bad, so it's okay. Forget everything he said before that, because that's what Jujutsutards are all about.
No reason crying over spilled milk, so to speak.